That was amazing. And really, thank you so much. Thank you to both of you. And Wanjeri, who's not here today, can I just give you space to say who you are, what you do, if that's okay, starting off with Hawa.
I'm Hawa Esserman. I am a filmmaker, a script supervisor sometimes, and a film programmer. And I am one half of Manyatta Screenings and a third of the curating program that created Manyatta Mengi Mashariki.
Hello, my name is Phoebe Curia. I'm the second half of Manyatta Screenings and one third of the Manyatta Mengi Mashariki, the program that we brought for you today. I wear many hats. One of them is programming, like we've done for this program, and being involved in the education of filmmakers. Basically running film labs, film residencies, where people get started in their careers because we don't have that much in terms of universities where film is trained. So we rely on film labs, and that's the end where I spend a lot of time. And then the other end is the audience, bringing films to audiences. Thank you.
Thank you both. I didn't say anything about myself. As I put earlier on, my name is Fadili Magia. I'm the director of Watch Africa. And obviously, as I said earlier, we're delighted to bring Manyatta Mengi Mashariki here in Wales. But this is part of the British Council program that is touring across the UK. And Wanjeri, who's not here, she is in...
Wanjeri is on her way to Derry, Northern Ireland, which is, we had 4 locations for this program. We've already done London. This is the second location. We have Derry, Northern Ireland on the 10th, and we have Edinburgh on the 14th. So if you do have friends, family, colleagues who are out there, please share with them to look out for the program. So Wanjeri is a Mengi Film Club. She runs a film club in a part of Nairobi where she's presenting various kinds of films to audiences like this. And so we came together, Mengi Club and Manyatta Screenings, to present this program. Thank you.
Thank you. And we've had 7 amazing different films. And I think that was the main purpose of really the creation of the Manyatta Mengi Mashariki as part of this British Council program. Can you tell us a little bit of the processes, I guess? What inspired you, first and foremost, maybe even what inspired you to put this eclectic number of films together? I've never watched, I guess, a film from the Reunion Islands, so it was really nice to have that touch, because I feel we don't get to see so much, especially within the UK. And obviously Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia is widely represented in other short films. So it'd be really nice to know what was the inspiration behind the 7 films that we've just seen?
You want me to get started and then you can jump in? So first of all, Manyatta Screenings, we present our program in Kenya twice a year in 2 different locations in peri-urban areas. These are 2 areas where Hawa and I chose to call home. Basically, we have sort of like lived in the capital city and decided where we want to live. Where we want to call home is places outside of that, and we realized that there was a challenge in terms of lack of this. Me and her travel a lot. We get to go to festivals because of the work that we do, and we see all the fabulous films, not just short films, documentary, feature films in different festivals around the world, and we basically were concerned about the fact that these films don't come back home. And the communities we've chosen to call home do not have access to this, and thus Manyatta Screenings was born in 2018. And the films that you've seen here are part of a bank of films that we've already shown at our festivals, apart from 2, Stereo and Transaction, which are fairly new. But the other films have already been shown to audiences at previous Manyatta Screenings editions. Yeah, you want to take it from there?
Sure. So when we were tasked with putting together this program, like Fadili touched on, this is part of the UK-Kenya Season of Culture, which runs for 8 months. And they asked us, the Africa Center asked us to put together a program that they basically gave us carte blanche on, which we're really appreciative of. And so we brought the Manyatta screenings' interest/focus of showing films from Eastern Africa to Eastern Africans, and the conversation that we have around films, which what Mengi Film Club really focuses on, like discussing and picking apart and seeing themes inside of films together. That's why the name. And because we could choose, we chose what felt like captured the spirit of the filmmaking that's going on in Eastern Africa at the moment. So from, I think, over the last 5 years, we've got Rolex that came out, I think, in 2020. And then Stero came out last year. So I think that's a good cross-section. And also the artistic determination and will of filmmakers that are deciding to go on this crazy journey of filmmaking in the region. And also giving them the will and celebration to continue. Because I think the more we do this and the more they realize that they have work that not just can travel, but also truly has a home where it's made, then I think we're in a better, stronger position, both as makers and as watchers.
I'm just thinking about the role of film programmers, film curators in this sense. First of all, this is what independent cinema looks like. These people have struggled so hard to find the funds. You notice at the end of each film, there's different people giving money. So it's collecting 2 bob here, 2 bob there to actually get the film you want to get made. But once the filmmakers are kind of done with this, I feel like they chase the next project. What's the next film they're making? So that's a space as curators and programmers we hold to make sure that these films get to as many people as possible, because the link between the audience and the filmmakers.
And that makes me curious. Actually, I'm just going to throw to the audiences here right now. Please raise your hand if you're a filmmaker or aspiring filmmaker.
Ooh,
or
we have
With
one.
pride. With pride.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can see people kind of asking, so should I raise a hand up? Should I raise a hand? I'm not quite sure. No, so thank you so much for doing that. Any curators at all? Or aspiring curators? No. Okay, another question, throwing back to the audience as well. One word to describe the screening this evening.
No pressure.
One word, just throw it.
Exhilarating.
Exhilarating. Thank you.
Eclectic.
Eclectic.
Highly eclectic.
Highly eclectic.
Wonderful buffet.
Yeah.
Subject.
Or more words.
Wonderful.
A variety of intriguing styles.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I also love what you say about the films having a home where they are made. And that's really so important.
Yeah, we agree.
Yeah. You were saying something.
Illuminating.
Illuminating.
Yeah.
And just touching into, I know how you're a filmmaker, you're a producer, a curator as well. How has this process been for you, I guess, having been, on the receiving end previously, being a filmmaker and submitting your films, etc. Now you're curating. Is that, how has that been, I guess, in your experiences and understanding of the film industry itself and the challenges of how filmmakers submitting films and getting recognition, etc., and being, I guess, on the receiving end? I don't know if that makes sense in some ways.
I'm going to try answer, and then you'll tell me if
Sure.
I've done a good job. So I think doing this work it's a bit selfish in that what we're aiming for at the end of the day is audience building. As varied and as vast and as forward-pushing as possible. And if we have more audiences that can then be turned into a market, that means that there is more likelihood that more films, including mine, that will be made, that have people that want to see them. The argument for the longest time, and still to a certain extent now, is that Africa is not a market. And that, I think, comes because it's too nebulous a place to cut up into different spaces and to have one blanket solution under which marketing or distribution can happen, which I think gives us an opportunity to find out in each of our places, because the one thing we found out with Manyatta screenings is that what works here in the next town over doesn't necessarily work. So you have to think through what will connect, whether or not they're willing to problem solve with you. And yes, this is very slow and steady work, but it's very illuminating, rewarding, and the slow burn, I think, means the bigger win in the end. So that is why I do that, and that gives me a deep satisfaction to know that there are people who are not just interested, but then also the ones who are watching now realize that we have a catalog now of things that they can go back and look at. And that's an exciting time, because I think 15 years ago that wasn't true.
Thank you. You've answered a question.
Good.
Must be some of you with burning questions, so to speak. So please.
Ask your question and then I'll...
So I'm curious about each of your journeys towards being curators, because it's I guess it's one of those titles where it seems like it would be a really cool job, but it also is, I don't like, how do you get there to that job? You know what I mean? Like, what's been your personal journey? Because there's probably a million different ways to get to it, but I'm just curious about your own personal journeys towards that. Yeah.
The thing is, with more audiences that we build at home, it means that we can make films that are informed by the people who are watching at home, which is what Transaction is. We will make inside jokes for ourselves. We will tell stories in languages for ourselves. We'll be able to see ourselves. And that means then that those films that are made for us, it gives us an opportunity to make more films for ourselves, as opposed to wondering whether or not Berlinale or Locarno will be interested in my film, and do I have to make it look like this, and then betraying what it is that you would really like to say. So the more we do this and build that, the easier it will be, inshallah, to make work that echoes what we feel and how we see, and also just create our own film language. How to become a curator? I can only tell you of my journey, which was a little bit by accident and by invitation. Someone asked if I was interested in putting together a program of things about like an hour long, and I was like, yeah, sure, I can do that.
Yeah.
I've seen shorts, I like that. And then someone asked, would you like to be a part of a team for a festival? And a couple of years down the line, I'm watching 500 films in the span of 4 months and giving assessments, and, and it is a supreme privilege to get to watch films and select a program. It is an impossibly wonderful job, and also enormously tiring to watch however many films it is that I watch for whatever festival. But I'll be doing it again in a couple of months.
Yeah. I'll speak to it from 2 points. How our journey together started was on a boat on the Nile in Egypt. How knows I love this story because it was one of those festivals, Luxor African Film Festival, invites both of us in different capacities, and I think that's where we finally get to meet. And we've heard of each other at that point. We have not met physically, and they organize these sunset cruises at the end of the day. And as we're cruising on the Nile, we're talking, and we realize we both understand the privilege we have to travel to these festivals and see these films. And thus, Manyatta Screening was born. A year later, exactly, we had our first edition and took like 12 months to discuss what we thought Manyatta could look like. Personally, I'd already been curating films by virtue of being an executive director of a film school in Uganda called Maisha Film Lab, which was founded by renowned filmmaker Mira Naya. And we did show our students' work at an annual film festival. And so, again, this was a job description. That's where it starts from. And we would include films from elsewhere. It wasn't particularly, it has got to be the student films that we have made, but to just show the showcase of the work that we were involved in, we also included other films from elsewhere. And shortly, I found myself invited to also start another festival, which is a big festival now in Uganda called the Ngalabi Short Film Festival. So when I saw it, and I was saying to how I think this week, to see what Ngalabi has become, I'm no longer living in Uganda, I'm back home in Kenya. We founded that festival in my sitting room, and to see what it has become, that's what keeps us doing. And like Hawa says, you just keep doing. You're like, oh no, it's too much, I can't do this. How do we survive? But the next invitation comes, and sure, I'll do it. Before you even ask where the money is, you just know the treat and the ride that you're in for. So it's a slow process to get there and to just find the joy in it. And for me, particularly, to realize that the filmmakers do not have time to take their films around. If we're not there, these films are not traveling. Yeah.
Maybe just to add from my own personal experience, I think you said about curation specifically, wasn't it? Yeah. Another thing I think is you doing something for yourself or something that you're passionate about. For me, with Watch Africa, for example, was really about, okay, there's nothing in Wales, there's nothing in Cardiff that specifically caters for African voices, Black voices. So I decided to set up the festival. Mm-hmm. And that kind of pushes myself into, okay, then you need to curate a program. You've got no choice. You're setting up a festival, right? You have to do it. So I basically ended up getting involved by accident to some extent. And the love for film is obviously, but really seeing film as a medium to initiate conversations, to educate people, as many of you have been saying about the feedback on the short films. So you can do that. You can also create a space that you feel is yours and program something that's specifically for you, and then invite people into that space, into your space, so to speak. And I guess another thing, and I'm going to plug Watch Africa here, Pascaline is here as our producer. We have a Watch Africa Film Club that meets on a regular basis, and part of it is really to I guess in many ways educate, but involve people in the curation of some of our programs. What we have currently is what we call community screenings. So we go around Cardiff and showcasing a range of African films. But the festival itself is next year, June. So part of the purpose of the film club is to help curate the program for June. So yeah, we can get involved with Pascaline whenever you have free time.
What you did this year in terms of, just again in response to that, where Watch Africa invited Cardiff to be part of the selection of the films for this year's edition in particular. And in that way, that's also a way to grow. Just like taking part in something like that, you might find you're doing it out of curiosity, but somehow some people down the line might end up knocking on his door saying, I need a job, I must curate, I don't know what to do with my life, Yeah.
I'm interested in what you talked about, the film labs. And how often do you run them, and how do you get what are the kind of requirements for the young people or old people who come to want to make films as part of this lab, and where is this lab exactly? I'm really curious, because I think the idea of having a film lab means that there's something in progress, something in motion, which means you can always go back. So I'm excited to hear about how that started, how you select people, where they are, whether it's focused in urban areas. I'd like to hear about that, please.
Sorry you missed the first half, and anyone else who did, Rolex is on YouTube. The first film, Rolex, it is on YouTube as the full film, same exact thing we watched here today. So you can catch it there. The other two films, no. Because we had Scalp Deep and then followed by Stero.
Scalp Deep, Love and Brain.
Love and Brain.
No.
Love and Brain actually will be hard to find, but Stereo might end up on some of the platforms in the future.
It's still on a run, actually.
It's still on a festival run. Okay. Yeah, but Stereo, I know maybe in a year or two, it will end up on some platform or the other, I imagine, because of how it's doing so far.
It's okay, that's good. Look at your program and see where you are next.
Yeah, right. So the film labs are actually literally every country has labs running.
In East Africa, for sure.
Yeah. In East Africa, we have many initiatives as well. And I started off, like my film world journey started off by working in a institution, Maisha Film Lab, that was running about 9 film labs a year that were catering to either screenwriters only or documentary filmmakers only or screenwriters and the whole production line. So the labs can be designed in whichever way depending on, sometimes unfortunately the pass holder decides what the cost will be. This is unfortunate. Sometimes you do find that there's a donor with money. These are usually, the labs are not government sponsored. We still have a lot of challenges, I will call them, because we do see that they are trying the best way they know how to understand what it is that we do in the film industry and how they can plug in. But we're not getting help from our countries. We're really mostly relying on money from the West. And pre-2008, a lot of money came from America for art and culture to Africa, and a lot of these labs were designed, and that is how, say, for example, Maisha Film Lab started in 2004 with, coincidentally, money from Rolex, the watch, not the chapati. And then after that, it's a lot of foundations. And from Europe, particularly Germany, government taxpayers' money, there's organizations like GIZ, BMZ, and you've seen they've funded some of the films we've watched, that understand the role of art and culture, number one, and the need for alternative careers, as it were, and the need to actually grow that industry, because we did not have many universities that ran film as a course. Film, like just generally the film. Yeah. Yeah. And so that is how the need for the labs comes up. While in Europe, there's universities that have full-on degree courses on film. There are still labs to substitute, to upskill filmmakers. Like IAVE is famous for producers, and it will circulate in different countries. I think it was in Luxembourg not too long ago. I don't know which year, where they're going to do the edition this year. And personally, unfortunately, the film school I worked for that I'm talking about, we closed down because of COVID, and we relied on donor funding a lot. Went back home and have started my own, like now, designing basically labs. And it's really about relationships and partnerships and being able to really clearly point out the need. What's the challenge we're facing in East Africa right now? Where are the gaps? And finding people who understand what it is you're trying to do and coming on board and giving funding for that. And so how we do that is find, like, if you find the donor, then amongst ourselves, like Hawa is a mentor as well. She mentors filmmakers. I don't know if you saw thanks on Stereo in the credits. She's credited as a grateful thanks, you know. So there's a lot of people like Hawa who are filmmakers who are ready to give back. So in between their 2, 3, 4 scripts that they're writing, when people like me who are running labs call like, hey, I need you to come into the room, and we have young ones who, or people, doesn't have to be young people, because actually some people discover themselves, you know, like I was forced to do chemistry, but really what I wanted to become was a cinematographer. So that also tends to happen a lot, because actually mainly what you find in the university is a journalism course, and if you have a funky lecturer, they will sneak in cinema stuff in the journalism course. So these labs we really design based on A, the need, what are we crazily trying to sort out right now, and as I said, sometimes B, donor facing, where there's a call. We're looking for someone to run a lab for 20 young cinematographers or 20 young editors. Then if I feel that that's something I would be able to cobble the resources together outside of the money, then I would put in an application for that and then invite mentors and other facilitators as we require. And in terms of the criteria for selecting the people, it also depends on what we're looking at. Are we looking at beginners? Sort of like we're saying, just send us one short video you've edited on phone. And for writing, for example, screenwriting, are we looking at a screenwriter who's already written a screenplay that has shown at a big festival? Or are we looking at screenwriters who are interested in becoming screenwriters and they don't know where to start. So it's not, we have them in different countries. Like it's every time it's different countries, and that's fine because we're able to get to those places and design the courses the way we want. I hope that answers your question.
It does answer, but
Yeah.
do you think it's growing? Have you had a lot of successes with these film labs? Like
Yes.
Going on to
Yes.
from shorts to feature length.
It is growing.
Documentary.
It's yes and no, but there's more labs now than when I was hired at Maisha Film Lab in 2011. Then it only existed as like the sole big, renowned film lab in East Africa, while now we have more than 10 easily between the Eastern African countries, which are about 13. There's way more labs and way more access and way more funding as well. So there is progress in that sense.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Do you want to say something about this, Hawa? Because, I mean, you also work in that space. Yeah, you do mentor a lot in different labs.
I suppose the thing that I would have to say is, like Phoebe said, our response to learning how to make film has been in a lab/workshop scenario. And what has changed over the past 20 or so years is how much more tailored it's becoming, and how much more mentorship and teaching is coming from within the continent, which I think is really exciting. So it sort of leans back into the story, that you want to tell, but how you want to tell it, and have someone tell you that what you want to do might be unorthodox but possible. And then together you figure out how it works. I think Stero is a really good example of that, because he knew what he wanted to say, and he's like, yeah, how I really like Bruce Lee movies. I'm like, excellent. How are you going to put that in there with the disc and language? And he managed, you know. So having more of that is what has us excited and keeps us going. And also because we don't have grand institutions of film school, anyone who has made anything film related in some fashion pays it forward somehow.
That's great.
So that has given it, I think, a very exciting, interesting approach to learning, because the thing about film is you have to do it. You watch films and you make films. You watch more films and you make films. She's nodding her head. It's because if you don't watch them, you don't know what to do, and you have to mess up and watch again and try again. It takes a really long time to make the thing that you feel echoes your vision. So it is practice, but it also helps when you've got other people going, yes, I did that, and you just have to keep going. Because filmmaking can be very lonely in as much as it's a community craft. The decisions are yours, and you have to live with them.
And once you're passing the mic, I want to say Professor Florence made Zanzibar Soccer Queens. If anyone hasn't watched Zanzibar Soccer Queens, please do go and watch it. I'm plugging Prof. I don't know where can people watch it, actually. Is it?
Now it's on
It's on
YouTube and on Vimeo.
on Vimeo as well. And also Howard's film is really important, Soul Boy. If you haven't had a chance to watch Soul Boy, it's still on somewhere. We actually screened it, I think, beginning of this year. So I'm just plugging those two very quickly. Yes. Please.
Whereabouts in Nairobi can we find a Manyatta screening?
Manyatta Screenings is not a Nairobi-based festival. It is a camping pop-up cinema festival. So you camp. So, I mean, there are two
camp
people
where?
in the world, those who camp and those who don't. I encourage you to be one that does. And our focus is peri-urban and rural areas, because that's where we want to build audiences. So Elementaita, which is in Nakuru County, 2.5 hours outside of Nairobi. And then Mahiga Meru, which is in Laikipia East. And Laikipia East? Laikipia East, twice a year. If you follow us, Manyatta Screens, on Instagram, we normally put out a save the date when we're about to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, cool. I'll follow you on Instagram, I guess.
Yeah. Do.
Yeah, I wanted to say to Prof, like part of the question in response as well, in addition to what we've said, when how we know whether we're growing in success, again, I'll refer back to Stereo, which is now being developed into a feature film. So look out for it at some point, 2, 3, 4 years from now. We don't know how long it's going to take. But that is success, that we are mentoring on the continent and the work is getting recognition. So it's going to be easier for them to raise funds because they have what is almost like a proof of concept, but a short film that is standing on its own as an art piece.
We've run out of time. They're getting ready for another screening here. Please, round of applause for Hawa and Phoebe. Thank you so much, both of you.
I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a great kind of mixture of different kind of ideas and themes. I thought it was really eclectic. I thought it was both kind of mysterious in parts and also like really thrilling and in some cases really funny. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it and I'm so glad I came. I thought it was just such an interesting way of kind of viewing Africa.
I found the films quite informative. And this is something then that, I will look to attend more regularly in the future, especially as with the young kids. It's good to let the kids know, especially films about Africa, Kenya. So, yes, it's good stuff. And hongera for the guys that put these things together.
I liked how there was such a wide variety of different films, including like different genres and stuff. The first one was a lot more like action and stuff, but then later on, the Love and Brain one, I liked the comedy part of that.
I also liked how there was some with like no talking, like the second one. It was a very interesting, like multiple types of styles and everything, not just genres.
I think the film was great. It was nice to see East African culture, cultural films, see the heritage and what East African films are all about, what's currently going on in the current times. And it's very captivating.
With this UK-Kenya season, we've brought to the UK a program of 7 beautiful shots. And this is our second location to come to in Wales, Cardiff. Yay! My second time here, but first time for work. It's been really amazing. The audience engagement has really been great. It's just a beautiful experience, and just to see that the films are continuing to grow. They're getting a longer shelf life because of the kind of work that we're doing in traveling with programs like this. Next is Derry in Northern Ireland, and after that we have Edinburgh in Scotland.
The journey for the program so far has been really great. It's wonderful to have a tour of an East African program across the UK. We're really excited to be able to do it and to be part of the conversation at the end of it too. The reception so far has been amazing. We hope it continues.